Healing and resistance is about engagement. It is about relationships. It's about engaging with how we've internalized the pain, the suffering, all of the things.
So I know a lot of activists have a lot of guilt. You see all the suffering, how can I enjoy my life? But remember, do it for them. Live every moment for them. Dance and sing and live, because, my God, that's what they would want us to do. And that's what my cousins from Gaza said. They want us to do.
The world is collapsing and we need to stand up and to bow as well, to be in reverence. That's the role of art, that's the role of community, that's the role of gatherings like these where we come together when we nourish ourselves.
Hello and welcome to this episode. If you want to meditate with me and the All That We Are community, you can do this twice a week, either through our membership, The Rhythm, or through dropping into the sessions. And the magic is that it's live. So you're not listening to a recording. You're not trying to catch up on anything. You just show up. We breathe together. We practice together. There are so many benefits to meditating and to meditating with others. And it's such a joy to share this space with you. Please do join me. We meet every Monday and Thursday. You can find out more details in the show notes for The Rhythm. This week's episode is a special one that we recorded at Lovejam Community Campout, which was a beautiful festival over a sunny weekend this summer near Glastonbury. Lovejam is a nationwide conscious community and events organization, building co-creative platforms for self-expression, positive transformation, and sobriety. Their mission is to inspire joy, collective harmony, and positive transformation for self, society, and planet, to encourage creative and authentic expression by creating safe, compassionate containers built on the principles of acceptance and non-judgment, and to reshape the way that we celebrate, and to champion alcohol-free environments that prioritize rejuvenation over intoxication and presence over escapism. It was my first meeting in person of this community, and I was deeply moved by the energy, open-heartedness, and dedication to arts and activism. I left thoroughly inspired and really radiating with the energy of the young people here and the way that they have come together and the way that they are living this, not just for a weekend, but actually throughout the year, and many of them actually living in community together. This podcast was a discussion that we had in the talks area of the gathering. And of course, it is a festival, so you will hear background noises of joy and music. My guests, in the order that you hear from them, are Zena Winterbottom, a community herbalist, forager, and co-founder of one of the UK's most established alcohol-free festivals, which is, of course, Lovejam, driving a cultural movement for creating wholesome spaces for creativity, community, and collaboration, leading to co-founding a co-living and retreat hub infused with the Lovejam spirit on the North Devon coast called Domu Valley. She has set her focus on rebuilding what she believes are the essentials to a rich life for a world in transition, weaving in her care for the earth and nature-based living. Joud is born and raised in Palestine, a singer, storyteller, and writer. Her work is deeply rooted in her homeland, weaving together music and words related to grief, love, and loss. Jessica Epperson-Lusty is devoted to attending to our personal and collective wounds and liberating ourselves from the familial, social, and cultural conditionings that perpetrate suffering. Weaving wisdom traditions with contemporary modalities, she creates and facilitates practices, workshops, retreats, and journeys. Her offerings are designed to enhance sacred reciprocity with all beings, presence, the creative intelligence of life, and live in the flow of our intuitive knowing and rhythms. Jessica has an MA in community, liberation, indigenous, and eco-psychologies, as well as advanced training in yoga psychology, journey dance, and shadow work. Jimena Paratcha is a passionate catalyst for planetary healing and personal transformation. She weaves together activism, ceremony, and soulful guidance. With a deep commitment to ecological justice and collective awakening, she facilitates transformative events where inner alignment fosters harmonization between our human family and our living earth. A co-founder of Medicine Festival and Akasha Retreat Center in Brazil, Jimena amplifies indigenous voices and ancestral wisdom, making the path of reverence, regeneration, and integration. Her work invites others to connect more clearly with their inner wisdom, affirm their purpose, and actively participate in the healing of our world. Nikita Llerana is a Brazilian internationalist, cultural producer, and spoken word artist. She has been working with Indigenous women from the Amazon, where she co-founded the Women Who Heal Association. She's also the co-founder of the IRIS Institute in Brazil and works with In Place of War, a UK-based organization that uses creativity in communities affected by conflict and climate change as a tool for positive transformation. She is currently based in Helsinki, Finland, pursuing her master's degree in intercultural encounters. In this conversation entitled Cultures of Healing and Resistance, Simple Rituals for Shared Strength, as we explore the question, how does fostering genuine connection transform both personal challenges and communal strength? We hope that you're inspired and activated by the wisdom and courage of these incredible women. Welcome to All That We Are, with me, your host, Amisha Tala-Oak. On this show, we explore the weave between activism, the sacred, creativity, and regeneration, the spaces where our inner and outer worlds dance. From healing trauma to nature connection, to new technologies, to ancient wisdom, it's time for us to move beyond silos and into an integrated way of being. Every one of us has ideas and personal experiences to share that can lead us to a more beautiful future. Despite the challenges we face as a global community or the pressures we meet in our daily lives, when we stop and dare to listen, to ask ourselves the big questions, and to share what we are already doing and envisioning, we create the futures of our wildest dreams, and we begin to embody all that we are becoming, and all that is possible. My name is Amisha, and we are here exploring this beautiful theme of creating cultures of healing and resistance. And not just creating them, but also with that, there's an aspect of protecting ancient cultures and diverse cultures and the old ways, as well as bringing in new ways of being. And the framing that we are here exploring is very much in this time of modernity and late stage capitalism and monoculture of consumerism, how important it becomes that we gather like we are here at Lovejam, and that we come together in ways of healing and resistance. And I have so many incredible women here representing many different cultures and modalities of healing for us to explore what this really means to us at this time. And so I'm going to invite each woman here to share a little bit of what that means for them in their work and in their expression of themselves and the way that they live their life to create cultures of healing and resistance. And Zena, I'm going to invite you first to share and just to bring us into this space of Lovejam and why we're here.
Thank you, Amisha. Yeah, my name is Zena, and I'm one of the founders of Lovejam and also Don New Valley, which is our co-living project down in North Devon. And yeah, Lovejam was really seeded as an opportunity to find a more wholesome, colourful, vibrant, connective, authentic, pure way of coming together to celebrate life, to have beautiful community, resourceful community, and to connect deeper to what it means to be community as well, rather than it being this kind of superficial experience, and to really find community in the spaces across the UK. And Lovejam has had a little bit of a ripple effect to inspire what is created in this container can be created in other containers across the UK. And so hence we have the Jambassador network, which Joud is a huge part of, to empower and decentralize and help others to lead and anchor community in their local spaces, which is bringing people together in ways that our culture doesn't necessarily support or give space to, or is very common. So yeah, Lovejam is here to give that little bridge. We always call ourselves a bridge, I would say, because we want to remain as accessible and open to anyone that comes through the door, and for them to feel like they are part of this family, no matter if it's their first time or their 10th time. So yeah, that's a little bit of Lovejam.
My name is Joud and I'm Palestinian. Community is a big part of healing for us. Yeah, supporting each other in a beautiful community that's shared around food and culture is so important. But I think as well in Palestine, people really struggle with healing because everyone has PTSD and traumatized and they don't talk enough about it. It's kind of like, this is what God has written for you and this is what you have to accept. It's so important for healing, I think, especially for activists, and you can't give from an empty cup. It's so easy for activists to keep working and burning out because, of course, you're going to, work so hard because you feel like the world is burning. There's all these people that are dying and you have this rage, this grief and this urgency. And I feel like it's so important for people to remember when they're burning out and to take the step to heal and to take a step back from activism if that's what they need. That's something, sadly, that us in Palestine, we don't have the privilege to do because of the situation and because everyone has PTSD and it's impossible to heal from that until you come out of the war, until you come out and you go in a safe place. But the why is that, yeah, it's so important to have that culture of healing. And I hope that one day I can bring it more to Palestine. And I'm so privileged to be able to go on my own healing journey because I live in a safe country where I'm able to do that. And I always try to talk about that and encouraging other activists to go on their healing journey and recognize when they're burned out so they can give the best they can. Because, as I said, you can't give from an empty cup.
Hello, everyone. Really beautiful to be here. Thank you, Amisha, and thank you, Zena, for creating this space. I'm Jessica Epperson-Lusty. I'm here with you I'm originally from southern Indiana on the Kentucky border on the Ohio River in the United States. I live in Washington, D.C., and I've lived there for 25 years. I have an initiative called Evolving Mindfully, and I participate a lot in thinking about what it means to create cultures of and embodying really cultures of resistance and healing, which I think go hand in hand and in such a significant way. You mentioned a bridge. I feel like in this experience, I'm bridging a bit sort of what it means to be embodying and engaging in community, both in efforts of resistance and efforts in cultures of healing in Washington, D.C., where there is a lot of resistance to change and there's a lot of demand for change. And when I was thinking about this question of resistance, I really was sitting with what it means to me to flip that in relationship to what I resist and what we as a community of people who desire change and experience the pain and are trying to create cultures of care, cultures of respect and responsibility and reverence and reciprocity, what it is that we resist taking up in ourselves, taking up in our community relationships, to really look at and ask, how do the ways I relate to myself, to my activism, to my community of activists, to my comforts, to my privilege, to my capacity to enter in and step back, where is the inner resistance that I can turn towards? And so that's sort of where I was feeling into this question. Yeah, and I'm really grateful to hear from the rest of the group and be in this conversation. Thanks, Amisha.
Thanks as well. Just to thank Amisha for the opportunity to be with such amazing people and all of you here. My name is Jimena Paratcha. Made in Argentina, born in San Francisco, California, which was quite a blessing while Argentina was coming into its dictatorship, to be born in a place of progressiveness and openness and liberation. And I've lived in the UK, been based in the UK for 28 years, more or less. And Brazil is my heart space. And I have 2 communities there that I've helped to develop. And here, I would say, I was thinking of, saying a community leader in Forest Row, but it's like you actually collaborating for the community and being a catalyst for our community in Forest Row, Sussex. I'm also a co-founder of Medicine Festival and a co-founder of Akasha Retreat Center in Rio de Janeiro, in Brazil, an hour and a half from Rio. And so I've had a lot of experience of creating culture, creating community, and the angle I felt has been the most highlighted for me in the different groups and organizations that I've worked with is what comes up as individuals and within the groups, the parts of ourselves that are triggered as you're parallel to creating the cultures or wanting things to be a certain way, but then having to come back to the parts of ourselves that are unhealed or wounded and need that healing space. And so, as you were saying, Amisha, we're looking at the ancient ways, particularly in Brazil at the retreat center. We work with indigenous groups of the western part of the Amazon. Ancient ways and creating the new times and the new ways of being. And meanwhile, it's like looking forward and you're looking at what you want things to be and you're having to go back in. And it's kind of like this, the motion, I feel, and upwards and down. And in this way, I know I can speak a bit more about it later, but I think this is the perspective I'd like to bring of how important it is to remember when you are looking at creating culture, it's not an outside, we're going to do this over here. It's a constant, what do I need to be doing? The questioning for the inside to make my relationships be more harmonious, more at peace in every way, and for things to develop in the most beautiful way we'd like them to be. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Amisha. Thank you, Jimena. Thank you, Lovejam. It's an honor to be here. I'm Nikita Llerana. I'm from Brazil, and I am an internationalist, a cultural producer. I've been working with indigenous women in the Amazon rainforest for the last 4 or 5 years. And in a week, I'm moving to Helsinki, to Finland, to stay there for 2 years. I've been thinking about what is to create cultures of healing and resistance. And I've been reading a lot of Ilan Pappé recently. Ilan Pappé is a historian and a political scientist. And he directs the European Center for Palestine, and he's a professor here in the UK. And he introduces a new dictionary on how to talk about all the issues around Palestine. And one of the things that he says is that we should replace the word peace process for decolonization and regime change, which is brilliant, which is very appropriate and very necessary. But it's really interesting because when I was reading it and he goes and talking a lot about reconciliation process, I missed the word healing. And it's something that I usually miss in the activist circles and political movements. And healing in English, one of the meanings is to make whole. It comes from the same root as wholeness. And resistance, that comes from the Latin word resister, means to stand against. So when we're talking about cultures of healing and resistance, we're actually talking about opposite movements, which I think is brilliant, because where do they meet? In conflict. And this is what I think we should be talking about. How do we deal with conflict in our lives? And I feel that this question has 3 dimensions: the individual, the interpersonal, and the societal. The individual, I would go with like when we start to realize that we're pretty entangled with the systems of oppression and exploitation that we're actually fighting against. And how are we dealing with that guilt, with that shame, or when we witness ourselves having some behaviors that do not mirror or reflect the values that we aspire to be connected with. The interpersonal, I think I would say more like, are we running away from the challenging conversations? Are we avoiding discomfort? Are we bypassing telling the truth of how we feel to the other people? And especially here in the UK and in Europe, that people love to hide a lot more than where I'm from in Brazil. And I think the societal and the collective one, of course, is like, how are we dealing with conflict in a scenario of growing global wars and in the face of genocide that for the first time is being portrayed and streamed live? The question that I would like to leave with us, because as Donna Haraway says, we should hold the questions, stay with the trouble, is how do we engage in genuine movements of healing, of resistance, of solidarity, that it's not based on a narrative against the evil. And I feel because this evil, it can be the Muslims or the Jews, the terrorists or the Zionists, the communists, the capitalists, the billionaires, the poor. So how do we, like the masks change, but the essence is the same. So how do we create a culture that is, I feel that our problem-solving framework is all based on this narrative of, against the enemy, against the evil. And so how do we really engage and create cultures of healing and resistance that is based in healing, in making us whole, without bypassing, making the ones accountable for the violence that are producing in the world, for the pain that are inflicting towards the other, and for manipulating truth.
A lot of the work that I do in Washington in community engagement is really trying to figure out how to act upon the systems in ways to make systemic change and to impact where decisions are being made, where resources are being applied at the local level. A couple people mentioned the local, and I really think that healing and resistance is about engagement. It is about relationships. It's, as you said, it's about engaging with how we've internalized the pain, the suffering, all of the things. It's how we're engaging with one another, and then how we're engaging with the ideas that we live through, the values that we live through, the interests that we have, the ways that we are interdependent and dependent and codependent and entangled, as you said, with the systems as they exist. And one of the programs I work with is a training program that's trying to get people into community action, taking action in community, sustained action to make change locally. And this is an organization that for 25 years has been trying to raise consciousness to the root causes of the degradation, the genocides, the suffering, the exploitation, all that we've experienced for hundreds of years. And my curiosity was, when they started doing the action training, was how do you actually get people to enter into organizations and work towards change in ways that embodies that shift of consciousness, that shift of relating, how we are actually relating with one another, with ourselves, with Earth, in a way that doesn't just end up, because the system has such a momentum to it, right? That it doesn't just end up being subsumed in the logic of the system, in the relational dominant, patterns of the system, so that action can really truly be action that's led through a different way of relating and being, and shift something fundamental there. So again, that's the question that we're living into in this exploration with these trainings and with the communities that they're coming out of, and it's really a deep inquiry that's coming back in cycles of action and reflection with earth, somatic reflection, on and on. Yeah, I don't have answers, but it's living into the questions and really living into the questions together in community, in felt ways. We're really tracking what's happening in us, what's happening between us. We have ways of really naming the conflict, the discomfort when it comes up, so that we can be with it. And we can be with it in ways that, I don't operate in this context, but in the United States, when we are in a room organizing and acting, there are deep differences and wounds that are alive. There is conflict that is generational, that is in the room among the bodies. And if we're not with that, then it's very, very difficult to be together in any real and sincere way, to make that quality of connection, so that we can work towards the deep changes that need to happen, in relationship. And so those are some of the ideas that are coming to me as you're talking.
Having had quite a lot of personal, intimate experience living in community myself, and observing the experiences of others as well, community is that deepest reflection of your inner challenges and resistances. And so it's really interesting to see how intense the experience can be for some people. We have a community of up to 20 people down in North Devon, and it's not for everyone. It's not for the faint-hearted either, because you can't run away from those internal challenges that are ultimately what are allowed to come through and surface and express themselves in quite uncontrolled ways in our mainstream culture, and they're not held to account. But in community, if you want to live there and you want it to be a harmonious environment, a healing environment, you want to challenge the status quo and the culture that we've been birthed in, then you have to do that internal reflection, have that self-awareness, have the tools of somatic practices to come into that space, have the tools of nonviolent communication, have the conflict repair structures of clearings, and that's something that even though we are just kind of in the birth canal as a community, we're only just past our first year anniversary. Those were the things that we knew we had to get down straight away, because they were the things that would fracture a community instantly, create those, reintroduce those same habits very quickly. And we can see and experience and observe how it's so easy to slip into them. And it's been really beautiful to see. But one of our values was the lean into the discomfort, because if you don't, then this community isn't for you, because if you don't lean in, you don't go through that deepening process. And every single time that people have lent in, they've come back to themselves. Like you say, it's kind of like a spiral. They go inward and outward. They come back, and that relationship with maybe what was going on goes deeper, and it kind of breaks the seal on something that really needed to be pushed through to allow the next level of healing of some kind. And so coming back to the microcosm of the macrocosm, and how these grassroots communities and movements and small little hubs of communities that we are popping up more and more across the UK and all across the world are a really beautiful opportunity to do that work, to then be able to learn from that, and to expand that learning across these structures and intersections across culture and the global movements that are happening. Yeah.
Thank you. So rich, everything you're bringing, all of you. So I wanted to go back to how Nikita brought this, and the word evil or darkness or heaviness. In the Paco traditions, the nature mystics of Andean Peru, they don't call things negative or positive. They're either lights or they're heavy. In that respect, I think everything you're bringing, which is, as I said, it's rich and there's a lot there. So I've just experienced quite simply during a river pilgrimage, my daughter led from the source of our river Medway near Forest Row to the sea, out to the Thames estuary and beyond. And it was very beautiful experience of community building. We did offerings at the confluences of the river. So everywhere a tributary came into the river, we had a moment of reverence and offerings. And the first one, the ceremonialist, who is an unusual gem of the British Isles, of an unbroken tradition called the Dopen tradition of the Wealds of the south of England. She brought to us the changing times from duality to triality, and this being the thinking, the willing, and the feeling. And that's the one thing I haven't heard is, and I think it's as simple as that, is bringing everything back to feeling. Because when we do that, we move and shift the emotions, which are energy and motion, and we can reflect that together and accept and also embrace the parts of ourselves that are darker and heavier in ourselves. I'll confess, 3 days ago, I had a thought that I caught in my mind about something or other. I can't remember what it was, but I remember thinking, what was that? Where did that come from? That was a bit dark. I was like, well, that's kind of weird. But just accepting, depends what we feed. Now there's that story of the man with the two wolves, and what you feed is what grows. And so that's what we're attempting to do, but also accepting those parts of ourselves that are heavy. And that brings me back to what I was saying before in creating cultures, developing organizations, community, is that parallel to you doing that. Well, in my case, I can tell you, you can easily hide a lot of your subconscious or shadow parts of yourself by doing so much on the outside. And this is where I would like to bring our attention to the care of the parallel work, because otherwise you're bringing those unhealed, wounded parts of yourselves into the organization, into the system constantly. And so being able to give space to that, which actually can be a bit of a luxury at times and a privilege, to have the space and the time and the energy, and financial support is part of that. And to be able to do this part of allowing these things to come through as you creating on the outside this cultures of healing and resistance, bringing yourself always back to your own is a big part of the process and of making it successful. And I'm so glad to hear what you're doing with Lovejam community. I really admire and respect, and I tend to try not to tell people, but I told Nathan yesterday, as a co-founder of Medicine Festival, don't tell any of my fellows, but now I'm being recorded, Lovejam is my favorite festival.
There's something that's here, which is how important it is to step outside of this concept of the individual that we've been given in this very new culture. And because it's a culture that many of us were born into, it's we almost think that that's how things are meant to be, but it's such a small thing that to kind of blame an individual for something that they may be feeling or expressing, and to not see it as part of the whole and as an expression of what is out of balance within the system, and to see that those energies might be the thought that and it's where did that thought come from, and it's that thought exists somewhere in the system, and someone's thinking it, someone's feeling it, someone's having a stomach ache or a cancer or something in their body that's expressing it. And I'm really interested in how we mature in the way that we understand and navigate community and our movements, that mean that this story that often happens is that individuals leave get kicked out, get burnt out when they feel too much of the of what's out of balance in that system. And then, of course, that's an expression of what's out of balance in the bigger global system that we're all part of, that is taking us so far away from who we really are and like the beauty of our souls and what we're really here for. And I wonder if anyone has anything they want to share there.
There is a saying from Vandana Shiva that I love, that she says that whoever thinks that the change will come from top down didn't understand that life sprouts from bottom up. And I feel that there's a lot to do with these spread of sprouts of communities here in the UK and all around the world. And I feel that these ancient cultures that we are drinking from, this source, for me is like a little seed that was buried by the elders and had to endure a long winter, which I would call like maybe the dark night of the soul of humanity of these past centuries of colonization and so much violence. But now I feel that this is the time that the seed is sprouting, and you cannot stop the spring. Like it's blossoming, and it's beyond our control. And I feel this is so powerful because it's so humbling, because it's not because we want this to happen. It's because it simply is. It's like I read something one day that is like, spirituality is not a belief, it's truth. The way it's expressed, then yes. So I feel that there is something really beautiful happening right now, and it's challenging, very challenging, and we're learning. But I heard something from Siriani, which is a Hunikuin indigenous friend from the Amazon rainforest, and she said, "You invaded our lands and conquered our territories and our bodies, and now we're doing the same with you, but through other means, with other tools, through love, through joy, through healing, through plant medicines, through the wisdom of the forest." And I feel that there is something really powerful about that, which is like, we have to create new weapons of love. I don't even like the word weapon, but like, it's a fight, it's a struggle. Like, the world is collapsing and we need to stand up and to bow as well, to be in reverence. That's the role of art, that's the role of community, that's the role of gatherings like these, where we come together, when we nourish ourselves as an inhale to go back to our routines Monday morning, and exhale there, because after the ecstasy we have the laundry. And yeah, this is what it is for. And yeah,
thank you. I love what you said, and I feel like what you said about the seed, I think one of the things that really burnt me out, so I was a support worker for women who have experienced sexual violence for 8 years. What I struggled with it the most is that I was trying to help these women in every possible way, with giving them coping strategies and just, trying to support and help in every way. But they are women who have experienced trauma all their lives. And it felt like whatever I threw at them, it was like, as we say in Arabic, it was like تحط الماء في الغربال, which means pouring water into a sieve. It felt like I wasn't doing anything. I had to leave because I was so burnt out, and I was doing counseling. And my counselor was like, one thing about this modern culture is that we want everything instant gratification always. And when we work on something, we want to see instant change, right? But something that has been a wisdom of the ancestors, of the indigenous in Palestine and all around, is that anything doesn't happen overnight, and change especially does not happen overnight. You will sow the seed, and it might not be even you or your kids or your grandkids that get to see that change, but you gotta know that you are planting that seed, and that seed will grow. That really helped me, because I was really devaluing my work, and I think a lot of us can do that. We go to demonstrations, we talk, we give everything we have. And still, we don't see that change. We still see those big corporations polluting our beautiful earth, and we see the genocide still happening. But it's so important to give value to your work. Whatever you do, no matter how small it is, you are planting that seed, and that seed will grow and it will be something. And I think our ancestors have planted a seed. And right now, what's happening in Palestine, people are waking up, people are starting to see, and one of those seeds that was planted is flourishing. And it's so beautiful to see. As much as we're seeing, I don't think anyone could have prepared us to see the insanity of what's happening right now. But on the silver lining of it, people are waking up. When I first came to this country, I would say I'm from Palestine, and they'd be like, oh, you mean Israel, or oh, Pakistan? But now people are like, yes, free Palestine. I see Palestinian flags everywhere. I see people speaking up and people being awake. And I think that's so important. And just one more point I want to say is that, yes, those spaces, art, community is so important, because when the war started, the genocide in 2023, I was lost. I was in Palestine at the time, and the borders closed. I was going to visit my family, and the borders closed, so I was stuck there for a bit. And then I came back, and I felt like I was in this parallel universe of people dancing and having fun, while I was just in Palestine, where you hear bombs and sirens, and it's insane. It is insane, and it still blows my mind, because, like, you know, I would see a little kid and he'd be like, Papa, like, oh, Daddy, look, there's like a plane or whatever, or like a helicopter flying really nearby. And I remember my cousins from Gaza, when they've seen a plane fly, and they hid under the table, because for us, that's what we see. Like, when I see helicopters, I'm scared. But that little kid was like, wow. I was like, oh my God, such parallel universes. But it's so important. Yeah, and then I came back here, and I couldn't dance, I couldn't sing, I didn't know how to live my life anymore. I was a broken shell of it. How can I live? How can I enjoy life when people are experiencing some of the worst atrocities we could ever imagine? But then I read this poem by Rifat al-Harari. He's this poet from Gaza, and he said, if I must die, then you must live. And it was this light bulb moment of, I need to live for them. I need to turn my guilt into gratitude. Because yes, I have survived and I have left Palestine, but I will have that gratitude of every time I can dance barefoot in this paradise, every time I can have a hot shower, every time I can have a meal. And I will do it for them. I won't have that guilt. I will do it for them. So I know a lot of activists have a lot of guilt. You see all the suffering. How can I enjoy my life? But remember, do it for them. Live every moment for them. Dance and sing and live, because, my God, that's what they would want us to do. And that's what my cousins from Gaza said. They want us to do. So yeah, it was a light bulb moment, and it's what helped me with having more resistance. And in a way, I was like, you know, fuck you, Israel, you didn't break me, because that's what they want to do. They absolutely did break me, but I came out. And that's why I say to myself, you did not break my spirit. I am still living, and I am still here, and you will not break me, and I will be that ripple of joy, of resistance, of loudness that can hopefully help other people. And yeah, I hope those two light bulb moments helped me, and I hope it can help you. And yeah, resilience and healing.
And I just want to say that it's really thanks to Joud, Nadim, Hannah and Jean and many others that you are doing that ripple, because you've curated and part curated this whole stage where you're platforming and promoting incredible people and ideas and ways that we can, you know, build resilience and protect our culture and also renew and move forward. And yeah, thank you for being so inspiring, and yeah, appreciate you.
Thank you very much for your passionate share, and also just reminded me of the genocide in Rwanda. It was British psychiatrists and psychologists. I think it was an Oxfam action that sent them to Rwanda to help with the healing process. And what was found was that after some time, what came back from the Rwandans was actually sitting in a boxed room, picking scabs of the past is not our way of healing. Our way of healing is singing and dancing and being in community. And yeah, big revelation.
I feel a little intimidated and shy to share what feels in my heart, to share sitting next to you, Joud, because you are a singer and I'm not a singer, but you just said singing, and there's a song that I just really feel compelled. It's very little to share, and this is from Brook Medicine Eagle, who is an Indigenous elder. I really think one of the big pieces, and it's been present here several times in healing and protecting cultures and creating new cultures and resistance, is really revering, respecting, and centering the wisdom of our elders. And she shared this song, and I'll share it with you. Whirlwind, whirlwind, spin around me, whirlwind. Spirit wind, spin around me, spirit wind. Lead me across the earth, plant the seeds of our rebirth. Whirlwind, whirlwind, spin around me, spirit wind. Spirit wind, spin around me, whirlwind. Lead me where I must go, sing to me what I must know. And I feel like that, you named it, just like following our spirit, following spirit. Spirit knows how to heal and knows where to lead us to heal. And spirit creates culture, I think, when we really deeply listen and we can find the capacity to follow the lead of spirit as we experience spirit moving in and around and through all that is present with us and among us and within us.
Thank you. And thank you, Jessica, for that song. Jessica sang that to my mother this morning, who is really sick. And beautiful to hear it again here. And also to bring in with that often we talk about creating cultures and it can be this big thing, but it's really so much in our everyday moments of who we are and how we show up and the way that we tend to the people in front of us and in our world and who we come across and I feel like that's such an important thing to really reclaim our capacity in a new world that's trying to tell us that we haven't got time and that we don't have capacity and that it's too much and that we can't do it and that we have to numb out and we have to withdraw and we need to go to where it's fun and joyful and high all the time. And actually that we have so much more capacity than that, each one of us, because we made it here this far. And life is not easy. And to be somebody that has space, even just in a moment, for whoever they may encounter. In doing the podcast, I've been able to be around some spectacular elders and people. And I was wondering what is it that really makes them often stand out? And it is that whenever you're with them, they just give you full attention and they make you feel that in that time that you're sat with them doing, your little project that, they must be asked to do so many things, but they make it that they're having this time soul to soul with you. And often when I do podcasts and things with people that aren't so well known, they're so busy and I've got to go and I'm like, hi, can we connect? And it's almost like a lost art to be present and to make space even within our busyness, to tend to what's important and also to tend to what's dying and what's difficult and as well as what's new and what's birthing and what's exciting, and that we can do both. We are so multidimensional and we are, each one of us, an embodiment of resistance and healing in who we are, and just that we're here and just that we care and that our hearts are open and just to keep living more and more and more into that. What a gift that is for you and for everyone and everything that you encounter. Thank you for listening. If this conversation is stirring something in you, that beautiful restlessness that whispers, there is another way, then you're exactly who the rhythm is for. It's our weekly membership where the future is woven through breath, stillness, and energy work. We gather live so we can see each other's faces and truly be with one another. If you're walking an unlinear path and want to root deeper into your intuition, power, and presence, come into the rhythm. This show is ad-free, algorithm-free, and full of soul, and it's kept alive by people like you. This is for the quiet rebels, the rhythm makers, the ones who know another way is already here, and you are invited. Join at allthatweare.org and explore other ways to get involved through beautiful leadership mentoring, our live retreats, and the full course library. And now, back to the episode.
Does anyone want to share anything? I would love it if anyone that is sat here with us would like to either share something that's alive for you around this theme or ask a question. Does anyone feel moved to?
Hi, I'm Nadeem, and I've been responsible for helping to create this stage. Just a quick question. One of the things that we're struggling with is the silence from the majority. There used to be a culture where people used to speak up and now they don't. And how do we kind of get back to a place where, you know, the vast majority are starting to speak up and starting to say, no, that's wrong. Don't know if you've got any thoughts on that.
I just want to repeat the question, which is around like speaking up and the majority speaking up. And I want to add a little bit of extra context that is new, which is that we are now in this digital age where everything we say is recorded somewhere and can show up in another place and impact all kinds of things. And we might be moving towards a universal basic income, and we might be moving towards a place where, because of our opinions, we're not able to access certain resources. And we are all navigating that, and we don't know what that looks like and how that's going to unfold. So I want to add in that reality that we are facing together, along with this question of what does it take to be someone that does speak up and that does use your voice and your body in order to share what you see and what you believe is important.
I feel like speaking up is not easy. It's uncomfortable. And sometimes it could cause, well, I don't want to say conflict, but sometimes speaking, like I've struggled with this all my life. When I first came to the UK, everyone just wanted to drink and go out and have a good time. And I wanted to have a good time too, but I wanted to talk about Palestine. I was fresh from Palestine, and I just wanted to talk about not just Palestine, but everything that's going on. And they were just like these ostriches that wanted to stick their head in the sand and just be like, we're happy, one thing that people would tell me, like, oh, we live in the most peaceful time ever. I'm like, is it, or is it just peaceful over here? Because there's so many countries that are struggling so much, and they're like, oh, but it's not the same scale as a second world war. And I'm like, I understand that, but you do realize that there's these proxy wars, like those big countries that were fighting in World War II, they're just fighting everywhere else with proxy wars. So it's not a peaceful time. I think it led me to fall out with a lot of people, and I still struggle with it, feeling like I can share. And I know a lot of people do too, that speaking up is definitely not easy. But I think it's so important to go against that uncomfortable feeling and speak about those uncomfortable things. One of the things that helped me still speak up is that there's many times that I've spoke out about Palestine and I was shut down. And fast forward a year, months or whatever, and I came across that person and they were like, even though I was so against it at the time, you planted a seed. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I went back and your words echoed in my mind, and I did some research. And now I'm like, completely, my mind has changed about Palestine or any topic. So I think it's so important to speak up and be the ripple of change to get other people to speak up. Because the amount of times I spoke about Palestine to people, and then I would be like walking and I'd hear them saying the same thing I told them to other people. I'm like, yes. And then maybe those people will say it to other people. So no matter how little, no matter how big, no matter how small or large your platform is, speak up, because you are planting those seeds, whether they're small, whether they're big, whether they're for one person or 100, it will go a long way. And even if it feels uncomfortable, but obviously if you're not having sometimes I'm not having a good day and I don't have the capacity to speak, and I recognize that because I feel like I'm just going to cry if I speak. So recognize that, but whenever you can, speak and encourage others to speak. And yeah.
Thank you for that. Can I share something that I wrote this week? And just before that, I just want to say that I've been navigating a lot of anger recently towards the people that are silent or that are like, anyway, it's been really tough, and I feel that I haven't been taught how to deal with my anger, so I'm learning. I'm learning, and it's not easy.
Yeah.
What does peace mean? A hot tea on a cold day, watching the wind blow the leaves away, laughing with the kids while they play. A beautiful day to enjoy and celebrate, cooking with your family and your best mates, getting some good rest by waking up late. What does peace mean? To tap your credit card without any concern, skincare and shopping to satisfy your shallow yearn, eating a steak for your desire's sake while the Amazon burns. Individual wellness when the world collapses, incense and crystals to cover your spiritual bypass, hiding your insecurities and showcasing success through a fake glass. What does peace mean? To arm yourself, stacking your defenses, building walls on the land and stitching it with fences, blinding the public with racist lenses. To care of your people at the expense of others, to place an enemy's mask on the face of a brother, or to dehumanize is the only way to justify your acts without compromising the gaze of your mother. What does peace mean? To use your trauma to conquer territories, justifying your attacks based on past stories, seeking protection by counting war glories. Seeing yourself as superior, supporting an apartheid state, promoting public policies that spread discrimination and hate, ethnic cleansing, genocide, and horrifying killing rates. Is it revenge and retaliation, starved to death a whole population, inflicting pain in the name of survival and liberation? What do I do in the face of genocide, for the first time portrayed and streamed live? What am I supposed to do when I see kids being buried alive? How do I beg decision makers to take responsibility? Is it enough to protest on the streets and demand liability, to raise the flag and scream against hostility? I guess no. What do I do with the rage against the one who are inflicting so much pain? How to deal with the anger towards brothers and sisters complicit in this game? How to make others accountable without promoting shame? What are we supposed to do when the world falls apart? How to keep alive compassion in my heart? How to believe that peace will ever start? In the depth of this wound, it feels there is no healing. There is so much pain. How to deal with such a bitter feeling? How to mend? How to give these endless cycles of violence an end? And so the other day, through the cracks in the ground, I saw a little bud. Amidst the gray, a yellow shining flower managed to find some mud. And I thought, how can it be so generous? The soil keeps on giving, even when covered in gallons of cement and blood. I guess there is something beyond my perception, a force that urges life to sprout, like water spring rising from the drought, that silently shows an intersection where life and death can be restored in a way that tomorrow can find rest on the past of yesterday, and we can break free from cycles of hunting the endless prey. The darkest time is just before the dawn. Is it a way to find hope? Is this a good mythic framework? Is this a path to walk upon? So with my begging hands, I pray in silence for the invisible ones. Teach me what peace really means. Show me from where it begins so I can truly serve it when the time comes. And the time is now. There's no way out. There is no middle ground. It's a call to stand up and to bow. What peace really means, we will have to co-create. The deep revolution is already awake. There's no more time to wait. Does it mean to make others accountable for the irreparable mistakes? Learn how to love the ones that we hate. Radical forgiveness to create a new fate. We find courage in fright. Stars are only seen during the night. So peace may be found in the worst plight. I invite us all to stay rooted in love, to be heartful and to be wise, to be sharp and to be kind. But no matter what, from hate, rise above.
Hi, my name is Samyak. Good to see you all. So my question is, I'm an activist, a committed activist, a plant-based activist, a left-wing activist, anti-apartheid, anti-capitalist, but what I find difficult is that I'm rising against these forces, yet I feel myself being shaped by them as well. And over time, my defenses come down, and also things that I used to find abhorrent or despicable become less so, partly because we're also exposed to it day in, day out. We've all been on Instagram, we've seen the photos, what's happening in Gaza, what's happening in Sudan. And I want to know, how do you still remain strong and still remain committed to the cause in your best possible way? Because the journey changes you.
I've got to admit, I began my activism age 11. My mother took me to my first protests in Argentina, and I spent my adolescence working on campaigns for all sorts of different things that were happening at the time, from liberating Nelson Mandela to the rights of women to in California. And partially this was also to be with like-minded people. It was life-affirming, and it was, in California also probably more part of the culture, actually, to be active in that way. And I've got to say, as I've got older and more sensitive, and I do the work I do in the way I do, which is protecting Indigenous territories through hosting our Indigenous families to the retreat center, working in Brazil, for example, so they can create an income, go back to the forest and stay in the forest and protect and keep the trees standing. For example, I've literally not been able to be on social media of late. And I find it hard to say, what you can do myself. I'm just bringing that to our panel, that however much grounding and, strengthening, meditating and working in groups together and building resilience in myself and in the communities I work in, I commend you and all the people who are working more on the front lines, because I'm a bit exhausted by it, and I couldn't be there, not anymore. And so thank you for the work you do, and hopefully someone else can answer that question in a different way.
I echo what you said in many ways. So when the genocide started, I was on my phone 24/7, and I was in Palestine as well, and I got fibromyalgia. So fibromyalgia is this chronic illness, autoimmune disease that you get from trauma or stress, and it's a lot of deep pains in your body, like pains in your bones and muscles. And then when I was diagnosed, I realized that I had to limit my social media, because I already have PTSD and traumatized, and seeing that is really a lot, but it's very traumatized. You have to protect your heart. I try to limit it as much as I can, even though I had so much guilt. It felt like I was turning my back on my people. I needed to hear their stories. I needed to keep them alive, right? But that was burning me out so much, and it stopped me from actually being able to give back and make some change. So I had to limit my social media as much as I can and focus on the change that I can do. Go to demonstrations, donate, boycott, speak out about Palestine as much as I can, and to an extent know about what's happening. But watching the social media can be really draining and really traumatizing because it is broadcasted, the genocide, and it is unimaginable. What we're seeing is unimaginable. So I think it's so important to recognize that. And I think one more point is that frontline activism is incredible, but no one can do it. It's not sustainable. No one can do it for a long time. And I did it for a long time because I was like, ha ha ha, like you're complaining? You do realize how much people are suffering, right? And I told myself that I cannot take breaks, that I had to keep going and going. And that really burnt me out. You know, I quit my job with the women and I stopped doing frontline activism as much, but I was still helping. I found, for example, a charity called Herbalists Without Borders. And it's an incredible charity because they get to make medicine for refugees and asylum seekers. And it felt like I was still giving back to the community. All my grandparents were refugees. So it's something that's really close to my heart. I was still giving back and doing something, but I was doing it by making medicine with these incredible women, foraging and being connected to the land, something that is very important to me because in Palestine, we're so connected to the land. Like you ask anyone, everyone knows the herbs that are good for the stomach, for the headache, and here everyone is like, oh, just take Panadol or painkiller. So I found a way to just be able to give back, but in a way that isn't draining on me. So I think it's important to realize when your time is up for frontline activism or watching too much social media, but still giving back, because I think it is important to give back. But also if you need to just take a break and then go back and give back in a sustainable way, in a way that maybe can help you not burn out and still give back.
Thank you for the question. I think it's a really important one, and it's something that's come up in our community as well. Actually, we are in a really remote location. There is definitely no frontline protest that we can get to within like a 2 hour and 15-minute drive. We can sometimes feel really alone in the fight, and I think we need to remember that we're all in the fight together. And sometimes speaking about the struggle with our community and with our colleagues, with our friends, with our families is incredibly important because it shares the load of the emotions that no doubt many of us are feeling. And when we've brought it up in our community spaces, there's been some people that have been incredibly emotional and finding it incredibly difficult. And when they've shared that emotion, it's helped them feel heard, it's helped them feel seen. And then other minds who might have a bit more energy might come to other conclusions and other ways that we can navigate what's going on in the world that we might not have thought of ourselves. So for example, we think like just posting on social media is one thing, but for us, our community, one of our resources is the fact that we have a land project and this co-living project and this retreat centre, and we're like, how can we use what we have, the resources that we have, to help, you know? And it was me feeling incredibly shameful, guilty, upset that all of this was going on and that I couldn't be out there. What could I do? And then I shared that with everyone, and I got emotional in one of our heart shares that we have every week. And people were like, well, why don't we invite activists or, connect with people who are activists who actually could do with sanctuary in a really beautiful, peaceful place. And, there are so many ways that we can examine the resources and things that we have and the things that we can do. I think it's checking in with, okay, I'm not feeling like I can do this right now, but what are the other things, like you're saying about, okay, I'm going to go forage and work for Herbalists over borders, which is incredible. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you.
Yeah, I resonate with everything that is being said, and also I want to share that what has served me. My name is Janet. So I am from Venezuela, and Venezuela has been under a dictatorship for 20-something years, and I'm living here because I'm seeking safety from my country. And what has helped me is to deal with the situation, also speaking up and sharing my story with other people, but also focusing on my own healing, that's been the biggest thing that I can do for my country. Even though I cannot do activism, I cannot change the situation, I cannot help them. There's so many things I cannot do, but also there's so many things I can do, which is to focus on my own healing, because my own healing is creating a ripple effect on my ancestral lineage. So people from my ancestry is getting healed through the work that I've been doing. And thanks to that, I've been able to release the blockages that I had in my voice, and being able to share all the things that are happening, because I've been focusing on my healing. So yeah, I think it's important that obviously we do this collective work is really important, but if you focus on what you can do for yourself, that definitely is going to have an impact in the world, because you are going to express it. The healing is going to get expressed through you, especially through creativity, because creativity is something that sprouts when deep healing has arrived for yourself, when you have given yourself this deep healing. Creativity is the result that comes out of healing yourself, or speaking up, or healing your voice, and it's the best way that we can express our essence as human beings.
Thank you.
So we have to wrap up. Thank you everyone as well for all your patience with the mic and the listening and everything, and yeah, really can feel you all here, and it's really special. Would each of you share one resource or something that really helps you create that culture of healing and resistance in yourself, and how you would like everyone to connect with you?
I think my deepest resourcing is being really devoted to my relationship with wherever I am, and breath work, and just like I have a ritual, and an embodied ritual that I do every morning, and I have for 10 years, and it really is, I mean, it's like my lodestone. I have to, like, that's the thing that I would name. And creating spaces for sharing food and being together in rich ways. You were talking about, like, you know, my short answer to that question would be connecting with people. If you're feeling tired and overwhelmed, and like your juice is like being in the relationship with what you love, and creating spaces for people to come together and share in the nourishment of life and the connections. You can find me at Evolving Mindfully on Instagram. And I'm really grateful to everyone to be here, and such an honor to be with you, gorgeous game changers and Shaktis.
It's so beautiful and empowering being on this panel with these powerful, incredible women. And for me, I think my biggest resource is singing. Yeah, like I think there was this moment after I came back from Palestine, and like I didn't really we didn't sing, right? We came in this journey together, and I feel like I mostly do grief singing, because I can shout and I can sing and I let it out, and I want to help other people do that. So I have this idea with this woman that I met at a demonstration that we want to do grief singing for activists who are feeling so burnt out. And I think you don't have a lot of opportunities to shout and to really let it out. So singing is somewhat like a place where you can just really let it out, sing and shout, and there's no shame, and I do that, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to help other people let their grief out through singing. You don't need to speak, you don't need to do anything, it just flows and it comes out. And the amount of times I would be like on the verge of a meltdown, and I would just get my shruti out, and I mean, my neighbors probably think I'm this crazy woman, and I was just like really go for it, and God, it really helps to let it out. So yeah, that's my resource, and I hope to be able to help others. I'm on Instagram. My name is Jude TN, so Jude and then T for Tango and N for November. Someone before put it TM.
Thanks, Jude. So for me, it's stripping back to the basics, stripping back to the elements as much as possible, stripping away the noise, which for me looks like, going out into nature, going out into the forest. I'm herbalist forager, so just tending to plants, even if it's just sitting with them. I don't need to do anything, but generally being out in nature. And I guess also, I think the simplicity of being around a fire with my fellow comrades and allowing that space to just transport you back to the source of connection with those sitting around you, to singing, to being silly, to and just under the stars, So I think stripping back to simplicity as much as possible, and giving yourself that real nourishment from an elemental level. And you can find me. I'm the Native Herbalist on Instagram, but also through Lovejam Community Instagram and Donley Valley as well. Thank you so much for bringing all of these incredible, inspiring women together. I'm deeply honoured and out of my comfort zone, and I appreciate being put there.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest resource is coming back into presence. And my ally is as simple as breath. And I do love breath work. I love breathing even more. I really think we underestimate the power of the simple gift of inhaling and exhaling. And when we have contraction, breathing into the contraction, and allowing ourselves time and space to come back into our center. In these times, especially been growing our capacity for holding grief on the one hand and joy in the other, or sorrow and the joys, and really being aware that it is these times that we are in are asking for this capacity to grow. You can find me on social media, but I'm not on there very much these days. Instagram, J Paratcha. Good luck. If you really want to know, let me know later. And otherwise, if you'd like to look into our retreat center in Brazil, Uni Retreats. Uni for union, UNI. And Uni Retreats, Akasha in Rio is a good way to find my work.
I pray a lot. There is the Brazilian stickers are the breath stickers on WhatsApp, and there is my favorite one, which is like a little dog like this, and it's like, hey God, it's me again. It's like me just sharing my feelings. But I think is to be sitting with the rawness of my feelings, which sometimes is like, I am sad, and it's like understanding how is to sit with sadness. And it's not very obvious. Sometimes I usually run away, or I eat, or I do something, and it's like I'm just feeling sad, and then there is something that you kind of find beyond or through that, which is very soothing and speaking the truth of what I'm feeling. So I'm experiencing this a lot with my partner. We are studying that, like, what are we feeling and how do we share that, and with friends and family, learning to really express how we actually feel. And it's so it brings so much healing. And just to finish, I think I've been learning to dance with my rage, with my anger. You can find me on Instagram. It's at Nikita, Nikita Llerana, Lerena _ afterwards. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The resource that I want to offer is meditation, which is an oldie but a goodie. And it's one that people don't actually do, but they talk about a lot. And I feel like a lot of people do it at the beginning and they get really into it, and then like life happens, and then they do loads of ceremonies and all this other stuff, and then they like don't do like the basic steady rhythm that can really support you. Because I feel, and I have been meditating a long time, but in a way it's getting easier because there's this sort of openness in our consciousness that's like easier to plug into. And in a way it's getting harder because of the attention economy and what that's doing to our brains. And so I've created a space called The Rhythm, And we meet twice a week live, and we just meditate for half an hour. We do a bit of breath work and energy work and sit in stillness, and it's really beautiful because it actually keeps tending to that rhythm. And when you come into a group field, then you get to go deeper and more into that space. So at the moment, that's happening every Monday evening and Thursday lunchtime, and you're so welcome to join. It's half an hour. You join from anywhere. I'm often in my car, not driving. And so the rhythm, and you can find out how to join that if you go to allthatweare.org. That's also where you'll find over 200 episodes created over 8 years with so many incredible people sharing their wisdom. And really every time somebody shares their wisdom, they're giving yours more permission and more space. And that's why it's so important to listen to like beautiful things that are being created, and why that in itself is a culture of healing and resistance, to fill your space, to let your cells hear things that make sense and that bring out that wise and powerful, loving, awake person inside of you. So thank you so much for being part of this space, and it's just so gorgeous to be with you, and hope to have a really gorgeous time with you all over the next couple of days. And thank you to Nadim and to Zena for creating all of this. And I was going to ask Jude if she would sing us to close. Would you?
Maybe if you just do... So this song, I feel like it's fitting to do it, and it's a wedding song that I've done a cover for it after I was inspired by the weddings that were happening in Gaza. Despite everything, they were still celebrating life, and it reminded me of the dance between life and death, joy and sorrow that a lot of us go through, but us in Palestine specifically, because we have so much death and so much suffering. Still, every morning we wake up ready to live life in any capacity that we can. So here it goes, I hope it works.
وهاتوا البارود بالخيول المبرقعة يطاري دولون زفولي محمد لباب العمود. I won't make it long.
Thank you for listening. We hope that you have enjoyed this episode and it has sparked some inspiration and creativity in you. As always, you can find links to everything we mention in this episode, download our book, join our experiences, and discover so much more over on allthatweare.org. We give space to our guests to share their perspective without debating it or fact-checking, as this approach allows for deep, unedited conversations from the heart. We trust your discernment and wisdom to take what is useful and challenge what isn't in your own understanding. We offer spaces for discussion and integration in our membership community, which we would love for you to join. We don't believe in selling you things you don't need through this podcast. And so it's made possible with you, our beautiful community. If you loved this and would like to connect more deeply with us, please join our membership, retreats, and experiences. Share the episode with your friends and do drop us a note from time to time. Please hit subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen so that others can find us. This podcast is made by an all-female global team. All That We Are celebrates all that we are already and the untapped potential that lives inside us. It invites the full power of the more than human world, nature, the unseen, our ancestors, and our future generations. It reminds us that we never exist in silos through borders, timelines, or polarity. That in each and every moment, all that we are is here.